Hey, have you ever rewatched a show from your childhood? One that you have a lot of nostalgia for and remember being completely absorbed in? Only to find out that it was actually kind of completely garbage, and that you only ever really liked it because your 5-year-old mind couldn't tell the difference between a work of art and a work churned out from soulless, money-hungry studio executives just trying to make a quick buck? Yeah, it's a sucky feeling, isn't it? We want to remember our childhoods in as pure and wholesome a way as possible. And finding out that some show we once thought was the pinnacle of writing was never actually any good and really was just created to sell Happy Meals does just a bit of damage to that pureness. So anyway, I rewatched Young Justice Season 1 recently, and absolutely none of what I just said will be relevant for the rest of this video, because this show still goes so hard. From a production standpoint, this show is so intentionally written and plotted out. Even with its largely episodic nature, there's a really strong sense of every episode's purpose within the larger story. Consistent themes, motifs, and character struggles are constantly tugged at and explored under different lights throughout the first season's 26 episodes. Producers Greg Weisman and Brandon Viat had a really clear vision for this show, and that vision shines through in every character, every episode, and every plot thread. At its core, Young Justice is a show about vulnerability, secrecy, and the relationship between parents and their children. And also, the show is just so cool. The action and the suspense and the twists are all so well executed. Seriously, it's a masterful mystery thriller. The show nails comic book action and drama just as well as it nails quiet character moments, and both contribute to create a thoroughly engaging and satisfying story. But before I get to all the show's positives, I should acknowledge that I was a bit hyperbolic to imply that Young Justice is flawless. Look, I need to justify my clickbaity thumbnail somehow, don't I? Young Justice isn't perfect by any means. The animation can be a bit choppy at times, and the limited amount of CGI that the show uses is thankfully very limited. More foundationally, I imagine one aspect of the show that most older fans have forgotten about, that certainly I forgot about, is that this is a teenage soap opera. I wouldn't say that its main genre is being a soap opera, but it's definitely a big part of the show. Pretty much all the tropes are present: love triangles, will they won't they plots, direct ships, and well, a lot of it just isn't that good. It's also not terrible. The romance between characters comes off as mostly sincere, and even these soap opera-esque plot threads are given a specific flair to them to relate them to the show's core themes. Still, I don't think it's a coincidence that my least favorite episodes are the ones that go all in on the shipping. The teenage romance stuff is all fine if it stays in the background, but there are just better plots and dynamics to put front and center. Now, all that being said, of all the ships in the show, Robin and Zatanna are easily the best one. They have a more fun, flirtatious dynamic than other couples, which works a lot better for the show's snappy and quick writing style. Not that Cartoon Network flirting is amazing or anything, but I definitely prefer it to Cartoon Network, whatever this is. Plus, you actually get a real sense that these two, care about each other in an actually selfless way, and that just isn't on display as much for the show's other ships. McGann and Connor mostly just awkwardly stare at each other all affectionately. Wally and Artemis have their whole enemies to lovers arc, which is fine, but most scenes between Dick and Zatanna center around them affirming and comforting each other, which is just sweet and more endearing for me personally. Wait, what was I talking about again? Oh yeah, the superheroes. Okay. There are a million small things that Young Justice just absolutely nails. The action is all really well choreographed and plotted out, and the animation conveys all the different superpowers and fighting styles really well. Each character has their own distinct approach to combat and roles to play on the team, which all conveys a lot about their personalities. Seriously, you can pretty easily plot them all out into RPG archetypes. I also love that there's a pretty clear power hierarchy between the Justice Leaguers, sidekicks, and different supervillains. Each member of the team has their moments, but there are also ample scenes showing all their weaknesses and relative inexperience. There's an episode halfway through the season where the team goes up against the Injustice League, and they just get destroyed. I mean, they succeed in their mission through some nice trickery, but you just know they'd get obliterated in a cage match against these guys. All of this goes to make the world of Young Justice feel real, and larger than this narrative. The kids may be the main characters of this story, but they certainly aren't the main characters of this world. And speaking of this world, I should note that the world building in Young Justice is incredible. This is one of the best and most captivating depictions of the DC universe that I have ever seen. The show goes all out with the comic book source material, more than the DCEU would have ever dared to. This is a world with a fully integrated Justice League, teenage sidekicks, a whole host of different civilizations ranging from Martians to Atlanteans, and outside underwear. And yet, the world retains a high level of congruency and believability. And that's due to how all these comic book elements are integrated into the wider politics of the world. The writers put a lot of emphasis on depicting how all of these fantastical elements would impact an otherwise normal world. A reporter asks Aquaman, Martian Manhunter acts as much as an ambassador from Mars to Earth as he does a superhero, and the Justice League is just as concerned with their own PR as they are with, justice. And I much prefer this approach to Zack Snyder deifying fantasy down to becoming boring and unrelatable, or to the MCU's obnoxious insistence on lampshading superhero elements, to the point of their world losing all credibility. Look, I wouldn't go as far as to say that Young Justice makes superheroes realistic, but there is a strong self-consistency to the world building, such that the story feels real, if you can suspend your disbelief for all the fantastical elements. The world building and action contribute to Young Justice's enjoyment and depth, but its characters are the soul of its story, and where the show's main themes are explored. Parental influence is a big theme in Young Justice. Every member of the team is affected by their parental figures, and the show uses their different upbringings to make some interesting points on the roles of parents. As a rule, the distorted parental figures in Young Justice all have an egotistical approach to parenting. Sportsmaster, Tio Morrow, and Lex Luthor are all invested in raising their children to become almost mirror images of themselves.
But you can't fight who you are. Time to switch sides, Artemis. You'll never be one of them.
They are principally concerned in creating clones or robots, but not persons. And there are numerous scenes displaying the disastrous consequences for this style of parenting. Even Zatara, though he is leagues better than these three, is still reprimanded for being unwilling to let his daughter become her own person.
I would do anything to get my daughter back. Yes, but we both know there are many ways for you to lose her.
Okay, now this man is the GOAT of parenting. No, I'm serious. Let me explain. I love this depiction of Batman. He's a brilliant mission general for one, being very intimidating, down to the point, and willing to call out others on their faults. But he also has a sympathetic side as well, and is more than willing to give others encouraging lines when they need them. And all of this is on a heightened, more personal display with his relationship with Dick Grayson, which is the exact antithesis to the negative parental relationships elsewhere displayed in the show. In this case, it's the son who wants to become his father. At the start of the show, he's sneaking in the shadows, projecting a cool, confident demeanor, and wanting to be the team leader as Batman is with the Justice League. But then, the incident happens, and Robin confides that he's had a change of heart.
I always wanted, expected, to grow up and become him. And the hero bit, I'm still all in. But that thing inside of him, the thing that drives him to sacrifice everything for the sake of his mission, that's not me. I don't want to be the Batman anymore.
And did you catch the anxiety and shame in his voice? A viewer may worry that he's veering against his father's wishes here, but then, a couple of episodes later,
Robin needed to help bring the men who murdered his family to justice.
So he could turn out like you?
So that he wouldn't.
this line, it's so in the spirit of Batman, and in line with the show's main themes. Bruce wants his son to go beyond Batman, to become his own person. He's not narrow-minded enough to think that the best thing for Dick is to become another Bruce Wayne. And you can see tangible effects of this parenting style. Robin has so much vibrance and optimism to his personality, so different from Batman's classical brooding. His outlook is very idealistic as well.
We'll find your dad, Batman, all of them. That's what we do.
Now, none of this is to say that imitation is a bad thing. The best parents in Young Justice still pass down their values and virtues to their children, but they do this in a way that does not rob them of their own individuality and self-agency. I should note also that Young Justice isn't fatalist. The show isn't shy on depicting the negative consequences that come from growing up in a bad family environment. But it also doesn't simplify the matter down to bad parents equal bad children. There's a lot of examples of characters displaying virtues in spite of, or even because of, their troubled upbringing.
He was evil, but Tio Morrow is still my father. I will care for him. It is the human thing to do.
On the interpersonal level, another core theme of Young Justice is vulnerability and secrecy. The show goes to great lengths to show the wounds and insecurities lingering within each and every character, and for most of them, it's pretty heavy stuff. The lingering nature of trauma is one of the things this season is best known for, and deservedly so. Again, Young Justice is very episodic in one sense. External conflicts are introduced and resolved in just about 22 minutes, but the internal conflicts within characters linger across the entire show, and the writers are aware of this contrast between the external and internal.
Or maybe Tommy refuses to live in Tuppence' stupid fantasy world where every problem's solved in half an hour.
I love the meticulous way in which each character is dissected. Slowly throughout the show, each team member's ideals, motivations, and emotional wounds are one by one revealed to the audience. It's really fitting to have it done this way. After all, Young Justice is, in one sense, one big mystery thriller. So it really works that the mystery that is these characters is unraveled in a similar way to how the external mysteries are unraveled. But then, none of these characters are very keen on this unraveling happening, which is very on brand for teenagers. Secrecy and misdirection is a constant motif in Young Justice. Seriously, watch the first season and take a shot every time someone pretends to be something they're not, or manipulates others through trickery and acting, or just projects traits that they don't have. I'm kidding, do not play that game, you will probably die. On the interpersonal level, this motif of secrecy is constantly played with and explored. Everyone has something to hide, and a shame that they refuse to bring into the light. And it's that shame that the show's main baddies end up exploiting to tear the team apart. As the season is wrapping up, the drama hinges on the three most secretive, apparently untrustworthy characters: Artemis, Connor, and McGann. Artemis is hiding her family's criminal history, Connor is hiding that he is a partial clone of Lex Luthor, and McGann is hiding that she uses just a bit of makeup in the morning to change how she looks. In the context of this story, all of their insecurities are cast in a very realistic, heavy, and sensitive light. such that the viewer really understands why each of them is so insistent on hiding the truth, and willing to go to pretty extreme lengths to keep their secrets secret. So when the light starts blackmailing the three of them to start manipulating the team, there's a real suspense on how things will be resolved. It's a really smart direction for the narrative to take. All the external and internal secrets between all the characters are interwoven together, and everything hinges on whether these three will allow it to be unraveled, even at the costs of their pasts and insecurities being exposed, even at the seemingly genuine risk of them being rejected. And then comes the show's main climax. The writers indulge to misdirect even the viewer, making it seem like the three of them failed and gave in to manipulation, before a flashback shows us what really happened.
There's something I need to do. Something I need to tell you. From my human father, Lex Luthor.
Listen. Superboy's not the only one suffering from bad DNA. My dad's sportsmaster.
So, who's next?
I am.
I swear I was kidding.
Queen Bee's been blackmailing me. She knows my true Martian form.
Bald McGann? Who cares if...
No.
This is how the good guys win. It's not through fisticuffs or something abstract like the power of friendship. It's just in a concrete willingness to be vulnerable, to show themselves in all their sincerity and ugliness. One of the things I like is that there are some negative reactions to them opening up. Robin has his shocked gasp at Superboy's lineage, and everyone has a knee-jerk reaction against McGann's true form. These are emotionally immature kids being honest with other emotionally immature kids. It's gonna be messy and awkward, but of course, at their core, they're not rejected. Look, I'm not gonna pretend like this is The Godfather or anything. This isn't an incredibly profound, complex, or even emotionally moving conclusion, and it's not supposed to be. This is a kid's show, after all. What one does get with this conclusion is something simple, fundamentally optimistic, and very satisfying. I also know that this isn't the show's narrative finale. It's only the second to last episode. And I like episode 26. The Roy twist is done really excellently for one. It's the type of twist that makes you want to go back and rewatch the entire season, just to catch all the details pointing to it. The episode also neatly ties up any lingering plot threads, and serves as a nice little teaser for season 2. Plus, it also has this, which is actually what the entire show has been building up to. But episode 25 is where the show's drama reaches its climax, and where the themes reach their thesis. It's a simple, honest, happy message. Just open up to people. It may not go as bad as you're worrying it will.